pursuit of excellence. To racing fans, Snow Pro is thrills, excitement, speed. To Polaris, it is even more. It is the pursuit of excellence, because Polaris uses racing to test new design ideas. A good racing season means Polaris will continue to hold the quality and engineering leadership edge that makes Polaris snowmobiles the finest you can buy. What did this season tell you about the Polaris you may buy? Plenty, because nobody in the history of snowmobile racing has ever so completely dominated the competition. Look at the incredible record Polaris Sled set in the 1976-77 racing season. Ironwood, Michigan. Polaris sweeps 4 out of 4 and wins Olympus World Trophy Cup. Alexandria, Minnesota. Polaris captures 3 of 4 and wins Hatteen Cup. Hartford, Michigan. Polaris wins 2 of 4 in the Kalamazoo Cup. Peterborough, Ontario. Polaris sweeps 7 of 7 and wins Kawartha World Cup. Eagle River, Wisconsin. Polaris sweeps 4 out of 4 and wins the coveted World's Championship. Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Polaris sweeps 4 out of 4 and wins the Wisconsin Trophy Cup. St. Paul, Minnesota. Polaris sweeps 4 of 4 and wins the Minnesota Open Trophy Cup. Bangor, Maine. Polaris wins 2 of 4 in the Paul Bunyan Trophy. Portland, Maine. Polaris wins 3 out of 4 in the spectacular 5,000 feature race. Weedsport, New York. Polaris sweeps first 3 places in all Snow Pro classes. Beausejour, Manitoba. Polaris wins 4 out of 4. Waldheim, Saskatchewan. Polaris wins 3 of 4 and sweeps 10-lap feature race. West Yellowstone, Montana. Polaris wins 2 of 5. At season's end, Polaris drivers had captured 44 firsts, or 81% of all race wins, plus 36 seconds and 30 thirds. And in the final Snow Pro individual driver standings, Polaris racers won the top 3 high point places. That's total domination of Snow Pro. But that's not all. While Polaris drivers and Polaris machines were dominating the Snow Pro ovals, Polaris independent cross-country riders were recording victory after victory. Polaris stock TXLs, the same ones you can buy, were the ones to beat on the tough cross-country circuit, where washboard terrain, biting cold, and runs up to 500 miles combine to serve up the ultimate test of endurance, dependability, and toughness. There's no bluffing your way through a cross-country run. It's an hour after hour hard-driving dog-eat-dog marathon that quickly separates the men from the boys. Some enduros start in near thaw and end in a howling prairie blizzard. There's only one thing to expect for sure: the unexpected. Marked and unmarked obstacles and dangers, miles of running next to barbed wire, gargantuan ditch hazards, fuel stops both close and distant, and that's just for starters. Come out on top here, and you've proved your mettle and earned your stripes the hard way. Last season, Polaris again proved its mettle with a host of big wins. And remember, these wins were on a stock consumer sled, the Polaris TXL. Look at the record. Balsam Lake, Wisconsin. Polaris wins first and second. Aberdeen to Mobridge. Polaris wins 5 out of top 6 places. Park Rapids, Minnesota. Polaris wins first and second. all to Winnipeg 500. Polaris racers totally dominate by capturing first 9 places. Regina to Minot. Polaris wins first, second, and third. Detroit Lakes, Minnesota. Polaris wins first and second. These are just a few of the Polaris victories in cross-country competition. Record to be proud of, both on the oval and in the long run. A record which will probably never be equal. A truly successful pursuit of excellence. And a victory for every Polaris owner who buys a machine not for racing, but for fun. Year after year, the performance features found superior on the Snow Pro racetrack and enduro runs are quickly engineered into Polaris consumer machines. Features like the Polaris Star engine, exclusive torque-balanced drive, adjustable slide suspension, hydraulic disc brakes, and scores of other performance features. When Polaris wins on the track, you win on the trail. With a machine that delivers unmatched handling and maneuverability. A machine that has a perfect blend of trail power and speed. And a machine that provides outstanding dependability year after year. Polaris is the first name in racing. But more importantly to you, Polaris is the first name in performance. Pursuit of excellence, you better believe it. And if you too pursue excellence, you can find it today at your Polaris dealer.
West Yellowstone, Montana. The 5th annual Snowmobile Roundup. For 3,500 snowmobilers had come to rails of Yellowstone and to watch. Their main question, would this be the day that the magic 100-mile-an-hour mark would... But to those of us at Polaris, it was the moment of truth, the culmination of a year's effort. Our main question, would this be the day of the X2? As the day began, it was apparent that we at Polaris shared 2 things with the other manufacturers. Anxiety for the day, born of months of hopes during the engineering and testing of these race machines, and curiosity for what the other guy had up his sleeve. For months, we'd all kept our designs under wraps. Now it was time to put them on the line, time to see which of us might break the existing world speed record of 95.33 miles per hour. More than that, which of us might crack that 100-mile-an-hour mark? A lot of those early morning eyes were on Skidoo and its twin-engine Eagle, and on the current record holder, Duane Eck. The yellow colors of Skidoo could just taste that 100-mile mark, and so could the rest of us. Every major manufacturer was there. The black and purple of Arctic Cat with its fuel injection engine, a special machine with a Honda motorcycle engine, Mercury with a special machine with 3 megaphones extending out the right side of the engine compartment. And we were there too, with our X2. Believe me, a lot of those Polaris men in blue were much more nervous than their smiles suggest. They'd put in endless hours on the X2. Men like Mike Baker of Roseau, Minnesota, Bob Eastman, the head of our Polaris racing team, and the X2's main design engineer, Darrell Courtwright. The Polaris X2 got its name because it uses 2 795cc engines, a standard racing engine for Polaris. X2 means times 2, thus X2. Our goal in its design, to build a machine that would stay together with that kind of torque, but be light enough to set the world speed record in the high altitudes of Yellowstone. In an hour, we'd know if we'd succeeded, or if we'd have to wait until next year. Looks like that little fellow in the black and red of Rupp is wondering the same thing. Our prime driver, Mike Baker, had more than a little interest in the Skidoo Twin Eagle. There's no sense denying it. We wanted to beat Skidoo in the worst way. A lot of interest was saved for the sleek Sonic Challenger, A special jet-powered sled, without a track, just 4 skis. It was reported to have gone 100 miles an hour in a practice run, but no one could testify it had really gone that fast. Before the day was out, they too would have their chance to prove their point, and their machine. Everyone was really looking it over that gray Saturday morning as the colorful chutes were packed, then packed again, and again, and again. Guess you can't be too careful when you're as pretty as the sleek jet sled. Finally, word came to the staging area that the start time was near. The timing lights and judges were in place. Last-minute preparations, last-minute picture-taking, last-minute advice, and a lot of last-minute butterflies. Record holder Eck checked his skis. He'd be the second man down the chute. As for the X2, every man in blue suddenly seemed to act like a nervous father. Check, recheck, move it into position, and then tell you what, let's check again. The crowd grew as expectant as we were. Even the governor of Montana was there. And here we go. A Frenchman from Quebec from the Skidoo factory team made the first run. His time in the early 90s. Eck's record still stood. Now the record holder himself took off on his first run. And disappointment. The 100-hour mark was still a dream, but not for long. Arctic Cat's turn. Marvin Odie. 102.5 miles an hour. A little edge was off the X2 team as they positioned it for its run. As they checked and rechecked again. Courtright was ready, and the X2 took off. Down the half-mile course and through the speed traps it went. A new world's record, 104.52. But the day wasn't over. Mercury made its first run. Then Honda. And Eck tried again. The X2's record still stood, but Polaris wasn't satisfied with the time. Mike Baker's turn. Ready? Go. Baker makes his run. When Baker hit the lights, 109.90 miles an hour. Suddenly, the men in blue weren't blue at all. Even our sales manager had a big smile. But the happiness was short-lived. Skidoo sent an eagle down the track with a girl, Carol Delanio, driving. She went 102.62 for a new world's record for women, and quite a mark in itself. Polaris's answer? Find a woman to drive the X2. Let's go after that mark, too. Dorothy Mercer from Lake Tahoe, Nevada, looked a little skeptical as we first broached the subject, and then more than a little skeptical as she found herself on the start line. She'd never been on the X2 before, but she'd agreed to give it a go. Talk about advice. Everyone had some for Dorothy. Only the X2 didn't try to tell her how to do it. It must have sensed Dorothy would do her own thing quite well. Off they went. Time to wait again. And time to shout again. 107.01 miles per hour. Dorothy's skeptical look was now all smiles. She had the woman's record, and she could prove it. What a gal. But the day wasn't over. Everyone kept taking their shots at breaking our 2 records. Eck finally went 100.78, but it was not enough. The X2 made one more run and for the 4th time broke the 100-mile-an-hour mark, as Leroy Lindblad went in excess of 106 miles an hour. Now it was the jet sled's chance. Would the X2's mark go up in that cloud of jet stream smoke? No. The jet went 74 miles an hour. The last run had been made until next year, when we'd all be back trying to crack Mike Baker's 109.9. It had indeed been the day of the X2.
This has been a Something Different video production. Visit us online at www.differentonline.net.